Are you confused about how and when to follow up after a job interview? Well, I am here to clear up the confusion. Hi, I'm Shelley Piedmont, a former recruiter turned career coach, and I want you to thrive and not just survive your job. One of the questions I often get asked is about follow up after an interview, like what to do. There's so much confusion around it, and especially since there has been a lot of ghosting of job candidates after interviews. So that becomes really important because employers are not reaching out. So let's talk about that in this video today. The first part of follow up will be thank you notes. So, thank you notes are brief, they do not have to be long. One paragraph really is all you need. And you should be sending that, pretty quickly after the interview, probably no more than 24 hours. Now, of course, if you have the interview on a Friday, then you can wait until Monday for them to receive it, but it should be quick. And what you need to do in a short paragraph is to thank the person that you interviewed with for their time. It's good to mention something specific that you talked about in that interview to personalize it. And then you do want to reiterate that you are very interested in the role. Again, because one thing they're looking for is that you're very interested in this particular job. So it's just an opportunity for you to talk again about your interest in the role. Now, I know some people are against thank you notes. Don't feel a need for that. Don't think that they should be the one to thank the other person for their time, since they had to go ahead and prepare and even go to an employer site. So if you are really against thank you notes, I don't want you to do anything that you feel is just not authentic to yourself. So that's a choice that you can make if you don't want to do that. I think it's a better idea to do that because it helps with your marketing and to keep you top of mind. But if you're really against it, then do what you think is right. The second thing I would say about thank you notes is if the culture of the place that you are interviewing would not be the type that is receptive to a thank you note. Now that you're going to have to be the judge of that, but there probably are some cultures where they might look down on you for a thank you note, then don't send it. But otherwise, I think it is a good thing for job seekers to do. And again, try to do that very quickly via email. You can do that very quickly and get that follow-up done. If you like this content, I always appreciate hitting that like button, subscribing, and sharing this with people in your life who are also looking for work. Next, I'm going to talk about follow-up after your interview and when you have not received any communications back. Unfortunately, this happens a lot. Sometimes it's intentional by that organization. We would consider that ghosting. Sometimes they're just very busy and they haven't been able to maybe get through all the candidates, or they haven't been able to make a decision. There could be lots of things going on. So that would be an appropriate time to follow back up with the organization. So I'm going to recommend, to help you with that type of follow-up, that you ask these 3 questions at the end of your interview. First, can you tell me about the hiring process from now forward? That will help you understand potentially how many interviews are going to be happening, who they may be happening with, so you have an idea of what to expect. The second thing you want to ask is, when should I expect to hear something from the organization? This is important because then it gives you a guideline as to when you might want to follow up if you don't hear anything back. And then the third question should be, who should I expect the follow-up from? Most of the time it would be the recruiter, but you want to clarify that. And this is important because you want to know who you need to be following up with. It could be the person you're talking with, but it could be somebody else. So you want to know who that is. So if you do that, then you will have a time frame when you should expect a response. Once that time frame has passed, then you know it's appropriate for you to go ahead and do your follow-up. And your follow-up does not need to be long. It doesn't have to be involved. Essentially, what you want to do is send a quick email to the person who is supposed to be following up with you and inquire about where you are in the process. And you can even say that you were expecting a response by this time. It has passed, so you're following up just to understand your status. Now, you may also want to, and I would encourage you to reiterate that you are interested in the role to make sure they know that this is a position of interest to you. You may also then, if it is appropriate, you could also add something to that email. Perhaps you have an article that you found that you think that person would be interested in. Maybe you have an idea that came from the interview that you thought you wanted to share. If appropriate, you can do that in that follow-up, but it's supposed to be short. It is only purpose is to let them know you are waiting for a response. Now, what should you do if you make the follow-up and you don't hear anything? Well, then it is appropriate for you to follow up again. Now, sometimes it's a question of when that is appropriate. I always say give the person a few days to potentially get the information that you need. Sometimes recruiters don't know exactly what that hiring manager is thinking. They could be on travel. They may still be thinking about the candidates. Maybe they haven't gotten through all the candidates. There's a lot of reasons why you might not have received a follow-up. So give that recruiter a few days, and then I would follow up again. What you want to do is not be a pest, but you want to be top of mind so that that recruiter will take a few minutes and to update you. Either you're moving forward, they haven't made a decision yet about what to do, or they are rejecting you. Now, I would tell you, my kind of threshold is you can respond up to 3 times. If you do not hear anything back after that 3rd time, then what I would tell you is you're not going to hear anything back. They know you are asking, and they've decided not to respond. Therefore, you can assume that you have been rejected, and as you always should be doing, after interviewing, you should continue your job search. Best practice is always don't rely that this job is going to work out, even if you think it ended up being very positive, because there's so many things happening in the background. You should always be looking, and certainly after you've followed up 3 times and received nothing back in terms of communication, then just write that job off. If they ever come back to you, it will be a surprise, maybe a positive one, but at least at that point, you can then decide whether you want to pursue that job further. So don't make following up tricky or complicated. It really isn't. There's only really 2 things you need to do: a thank you note and follow up if you don't hear anything. And with this guidance, now you'll know what content to put in your follow-up and when to do it.